The call came in at 11:32 on a Tuesday night. Not a fire, not a flood, just a neighbor complaining that the house on the corner sounds like a nightclub again. I already knew which house it was. 6 students, first off-campus place. First taste of freedom. Music loud enough to vibrate windows. A backyard full of strangers. Someone probably standing on a table thinking this was the best night of their life. And I'm standing in my kitchen, phone in hand, thinking, this is what people mean when they say student rentals are easy money? That moment is when the question really landed for me. Are student rentals a great idea or a terrible one? Because I had been told they were a cheat code. High rent, endless demand, parents paying, low vacancy. You can charge by the room, people said. It's like printing money, they said. And they weren't lying. But they weren't telling the whole truth either. Student rentals are one of those niches that look incredible from a distance and feel very different when you're inside them. They can be wildly profitable. They can also quietly take over your life if you build them wrong. What makes this niche so dangerous is that everything people say about it is technically true. There really is constant demand near campuses. You really can charge more per bedroom. You really can have parents co-sign. You really can keep units full year after year. And that's exactly why so many people jump in without understanding what they're actually signing up for. Because student rentals don't just pay you, they test you. They test your systems. They test your boundaries. They test your tolerance for chaos. They test whether you built a business or just bought a house and hoped for the best. From the outside, a student rental looks like a normal property. Same walls, same roof, same square footage, same listing photos. From the inside, it behaves like a completely different animal. The turnover is faster, the wear is heavier, the questions are dumber, the emergencies feel more frequent. Not because students are bad people, they're not. Most are respectful, excited, and trying their best. They're just new to paying rent, new to sharing space, new to noticing leaks before they become floods, new to understanding that walls are not soundproof, new to the idea that a home is something you maintain, not just occupy. So when people ask, are student rentals a good idea? What they're really asking is, can I handle a business that behaves like this? And most of them don't realize they're asking that. They think they're choosing a property type. They're actually choosing a lifestyle. I've seen 2 people buy nearly identical houses on the same street near the same campus. One builds a clean, predictable, high cash-flowing asset that runs like a machine. The other builds a constant headache that makes them swear off real estate entirely. Same market, same price, same tenants, completely different outcomes. The difference is not luck, it's structure. Student rentals do not reward hope, they reward intention. If you drift into this niche because it looks easy, it will humble you fast. If you walk into it like an operator, it can become one of the most powerful models in real estate. The problem is, nobody explains that part. They show you the gross rent. They show you the cash flow screenshot. They show you the before and after. They don't show you the Sunday night texts. They don't show you the summer scramble. They don't show you the carpet after 4 move-outs. They don't show you the call from the city about parking complaints. They don't show you what it actually feels like. So this video is not here to sell you on student rentals. It's here to tell you the truth. Because this niche is not good or bad. It's honest. It will give back exactly what you build into it. If you build chaos, it multiplies chaos. If you build systems, it multiplies money. And by the end of this, you'll know which side of that line you're standing on. What pulls most people in is the math. They look at a 3-bedroom house near a campus and think in normal rental terms. Maybe it rents for $1,800 a month to a family. Solid, boring, predictable. Then someone says, what if you rented it by the room? Suddenly, that same house becomes 3 rooms at $700 each. Now it's $2,100 a month, sometimes more. Add a 4th bedroom in the basement, and now you're at $2,800. On paper, it feels like you just unlocked a new level. Same mortgage, same taxes, same insurance, more income. That's the moment people fall in love with this niche. But gross rent is a liar. It tells you what could come in, not what stays. Student rentals don't just earn more. They spend more. They spend more on cleaning. They spend more on paint. They spend more on carpet. They spend more on appliances. They spend more on plumbing. They spend more on turnovers, and they do it more often. A normal rental might turn over every few years. A student rental turns over every year, sometimes every semester, which means you are not just running a rental. You are running a small hospitality operation that resets itself constantly. Every August becomes a deadline. Leases end together. People leave together. Rooms need to be flipped together. New tenants arrive together. Miss that window and you don't lose a month, you lose a year. That's a different level of pressure. And here's where people get hurt. They run the numbers like a normal rental. They say, even if I spend a few thousand on turns, I'm still way ahead. But they don't add up what a few thousand becomes when it happens every single year. They don't add the cost of professional cleaning after 6 people move out at once, full repaint because every wall has been touched, replacing carpets that didn't stand a chance, fixing door frames, blinds, light fixtures, calling a plumber because someone flushed something that should never meet water, replacing a microwave that died under midnight ramen abuse. 1 year feels fine. 3 years feels annoying. 5 years feels heavy. That is when people start saying, these properties don't cash flow like they used to. They always did. They just never told themselves the truth about what they cost. Student rentals are not fragile. They are intense. They compress time. What a normal rental experiences over 10 years, a student rental can experience in 4. That doesn't make it bad. It makes it fast. And fast systems must be built differently. If you treat a student house like a normal single-family rental, it will feel like it's falling apart around you. If you treat it like a business that resets every year, it becomes predictable. This is where wear and tear stops being an annoyance and becomes a line item. Walls are going to get scuffed, doors are going to get slammed, carpets are going to die young, appliances are going to be used hard. Not because students are malicious, because 6 young adults living together create friction. More showers, more cooking, more guests, more movement, more everything. So the question becomes simple. Did you price and plan for that reality? Or did you just hope your tenants would be different? Hope is expensive in this niche. Every owner I've met who hates student rentals made the same mistake. They treated damage like betrayal instead of math. They took it personally. Why would they do this? I fixed that last year. I can't believe they broke this. But the house doesn't care about your feelings. It only responds to usage. And student usage is heavy. The owners who thrive here don't fight that truth. They design around it. They choose durable materials. They standardize fixtures. They expect replacement. They budget for it monthly. They don't get angry when a carpet dies. They already paid for its funeral. That shift is everything. Because once you stop being surprised, you stop being stressed. The house stops feeling like it's attacking you. It starts feeling like a machine with known maintenance intervals. That's when the money becomes real. Not because gross rent is high, but because your net becomes predictable. And predictability is what turns chaos into confidence. The people who lose in this niche aren't bad investors. They're optimistic ones. They believe their house will behave better than the others. They believe their tenants will be different. They believe this year will be smoother than last year. Sometimes it is. Then reality reminds them who's in charge. Student rentals don't forgive vague planning. They magnify it. They don't punish you for trying. They punish you for pretending. There is another layer most people don't think about until they are already in it. The people living in your property are in a completely different season of life than you. They are not building stability. They are not thinking long-term. They are not optimizing for durability. They are exploring. For most of them, this is the first place that is truly theirs. Not a dorm, not their parents' house, not a supervised space. It's freedom. And freedom is loud. It's late nights. It's friends on couches. It's spontaneous gatherings. It's forgetting that someone lives below you. It's not noticing a small leak because you've never owned anything that could be damaged by it. That doesn't make them irresponsible. It makes them new. If you try to manage student rentals with the same expectations you'd have for a quiet family of 4, you will be frustrated constantly. You'll feel disrespected. You'll feel ignored. You'll feel like nobody cares about your property. What's actually happening is a mismatch between your systems and their reality. This niche forces you to become a communicator. You can't rely on common sense. You can't rely on assumptions. You can't rely on vibes. Everything has to be explicit. How noise works, how guests work, how trash works, how maintenance works, how communication works. If you leave gaps, students will fill them with guesses, and guesses turn into problems. The landlords who thrive here don't lecture, they design. They create systems that match student behavior instead of fighting it. They use one communication channel. They define response expectations. They explain what is urgent and what is not. They automate reminders. They schedule check-ins. They make rules visible and simple. They don't rely on tenants to remember. They rely on process. The ones who suffer assume that good intentions will carry the relationship. They think, they seem nice. They think, they'll figure it out. They think, I don't want to be strict. And then they end up strict anyway, just later and angrier. This niche punishes vagueness. It rewards clarity. Now here's the part most people miss. Student rentals are not hard because students are difficult. They are hard because they amplify weak systems. Every flaw in your operation gets magnified. Loose screening becomes constant turnover. Poor communication becomes nonstop confusion. No reserves becomes financial panic. No standards becomes emotional exhaustion. A small mistake in a normal rental becomes an annoyance. The same mistake in a student rental becomes a pattern. That's why some owners say, these are the best properties I own, and others say, never again. They're not lying. They're just running different businesses without realizing it. When student rentals are built intentionally, they are incredible. They're in areas with permanent demand. They often outperform traditional rentals. They can create high, consistent cash flow. They can grow faster than other models. But the conditions have to be right. The location has to make sense, not just near a campus, but in the zone students actually want to live in. The layout has to work. Bedrooms that make sense, bathrooms that won't cause daily conflict, common areas that can handle traffic. The numbers have to support reality. Not best case, not if nothing breaks. Real numbers that survive wear, turnover, management, and vacancy. And the mindset has to be operational. This is not a set it and forget it niche. It's a build it once so it runs the same every year niche. The investors who do well here don't feel lucky. They feel prepared. They don't cross their fingers every August. They run a playbook. Leases end. Turns begin. Vendors arrive. Cleaning happens. Paint happens. Listings go live. Showings run. Leases sign. Students move in. Same rhythm every year. It becomes boring, and boring is profitable. The investors who struggle feel like every year is a surprise. They scramble, they negotiate, they rush, they underprice, they overpay, they burn out. They don't hate student rentals, they hate that they're always behind. This niche is not about tolerance, it's about design. If you like building systems, if you enjoy structure, if you're comfortable setting boundaries, if you want to run something that behaves more like a business than a property. Student rentals can be powerful. If you want passive income, if you dislike conflict, if you avoid clear rules, if you hate repetition, this niche will feel heavy. Not because it's broken, because it's honest. It gives you back exactly what you put into it. Where people really get in trouble is when they build a student rental like a normal house and expect it to behave like one. They self-manage without structure. They answer texts at midnight. They negotiate rules case by case. They approve repairs emotionally. They wait until something breaks to think about money. At first it feels manageable. You're involved, you're helpful. You feel in control. Then the volume increases. 6 tenants become 12. 1 house becomes 3. 3 becomes 6. Suddenly you are not managing homes. You are managing a small community of young adults who all believe their situation is urgent. The stress doesn't come from big disasters. It comes from frequency, a clogged drain, a broken blind, a roommate conflict, a noise complaint, a Wi-Fi issue that isn't yours, a question already answered in the lease. Individually, none of these are serious. Collectively, they shape your life. This is where people start asking, should I hire management? And this is where the niche exposes another truth. Student rentals punish cheap management. A generic property manager who treats these houses like single-family rentals will fail you quietly. They will respond slowly. They will misjudge urgency. They will place the wrong tenants. They will skip inspections. They will let small issues grow. Then you'll think, management doesn't work for student housing. What's really happening is that you hired someone without giving them a playbook. This niche needs structure, communication rules, response timelines, spending thresholds, leasing standards, turnover procedures, inspection schedules. Management without design is just outsourcing chaos. When it's built right, it feels like a control room. You get updates instead of emergencies. You approve plans instead of scrambling. You review numbers instead of guessing. The business runs. You don't disappear. You elevate. The numbers decide whether this is even possible. If your deal only works because you are free labor, it is not an investment. It is a job. A lot of student rentals only look profitable because the owner is absorbing stress instead of paying for systems. They think they're saving 10%. They're paying with nights, weekends, and attention. When you step back and ask, can this property afford to be run like a business? The answer tells you everything. Some can, some can't. That's when maturity enters the picture. You realize that not every student rental is a good one. Some are too far from campus, some are in areas students don't want. Some have layouts that breed conflict. Some look good in photos but fail in real life. Holding those properties out of pride is how people grow bitter. They start resenting tenants. They start resenting repairs. They start resenting the whole model. The truth is quieter. The property is a bad fit. Student rentals are sensitive to small flaws. A 10-minute walk instead of 5. One bathroom instead of 2. Street parking instead of a driveway. Those details change tenant quality. Tenant quality changes wear. Wear changes cost. Cost changes how it feels to own. This is why some investors swear by this niche and others swear it off. They're not debating philosophy. They're living different realities. One built a system, one built a trap. Long term, this niche has another layer people ignore. Universities change, enrollment shifts, programs expand or contract, housing gets built, neighborhoods evolve. A student rental is tied to an institution. That can be powerful. It can also be risky. A factory town loses its factory. A student town loses its enrollment. That doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. The owners who survive long-term watch the school as closely as they watch the house. They track growth. They track dorm construction. They track city policy. They don't assume demand is eternal. They treat it like any other business tied to one customer base. This niche rewards people who think in decades, not semesters. And that's where the real question comes in. Who is this actually for? Student rentals are not for people chasing calm. They are for people who like building systems that handle chaos. They are for people who can separate emotion from operations. They are for people who enjoy turning disorder into routine. They are for people who can look at a problem and think, this needs a process, not, why is this happening to me? If you want passive income, this will disappoint you. If you want to build a machine that prints money because you built it well, this can become one of the most powerful tools you own. Student rentals are not good. They are not bad. They are honest. They reveal whether you built a business or just bought a house. They show you exactly how prepared you are. They don't hide your flaws. They multiply them. And if you let them, they'll teach you how to build something that runs without you. That is the real opportunity, not the rent, the transformation. From landlord to operator, from reacting to designing, from hoping to knowing. The house on the corner still has parties sometimes, but now, when my phone buzzes, it's usually an update. Turn complete. Leases signed. Inspection passed. The chaos didn't disappear. It became routine. That's the difference. And that's why this niche isn't about whether student rentals are a good or terrible idea. It's about whether you are ready to run the kind of business they demand, because they will meet you exactly where you are, and they will not pretend otherwise. There is a moment that comes for every investor who stays in this game long enough. It's not dramatic, it's not a crash, it's not a lawsuit, it's not a headline, it's a quiet realization. You're sitting somewhere you were supposed to enjoy. Dinner, a weekend, a night off, and your mind is still in one of your properties. You're thinking about a message you haven't answered yet, a lease you need to send, a repair that might turn into something bigger. That's when you realize the question was never about money. It was about how you wanted your life to feel. Student rentals accelerate that moment. They don't let you drift for years pretending everything is fine. They bring the truth forward, fast. They ask you every season, did you build this on purpose, or did you just keep buying? If you're early in your journey, this is a gift. You can choose now. You can decide that every property you buy will come with a system, that every dollar will have a job, that every tenant will enter through a process, that every repair will be expected, that every year will follow a rhythm. You can decide that your investments will support your life instead of consuming it. Student rentals won't do that for you, but they will force you to face whether you did. That's why some people build wealth here and others build regret. Not because the model is broken, because it's honest. It doesn't hide the cost of chaos. It doesn't soften the impact of weak planning. It doesn't reward vague hope. It rewards structure. It rewards clarity. It rewards calm operators. So, are student rentals a good idea or a terrible one? They are neither. They are a mirror. They show you exactly how you're building. And once you see that, you can never unsee it. The real opportunity in this niche isn't higher rent. It's becoming the kind of investor who can handle scale without losing peace. Because when you can do that here, you can do it anywhere. And that's what turns real estate from a hustle into a life you actually enjoy living.